This season of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Christine Clemens, a real estate broker with App Properties Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christineclemens.com or click the link in the show notes. This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing Incorporated. For more information or to schedule an appointment, visit their website in the show notes or give them a call at 630-313-9109. Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia, Illinois. I'm Richard Clark. As you know, every week we share a list of recommended businesses that make Area Code Batavia possible. These are businesses that are more than just sponsors. They're invested in our community and share our vision for a vibrant, connected Batavia. They include Christine Clemens at Properties Christie's International Real Estate, Bulldog Plumbing, Bogie Bikes, Windmill Grill, Dragonfly Senior Navigation Services, 212 Degrees Construction Group, Tyler Nelson Country Financial, and Plimsoll Marketing Agency. You can find out more information in the show notes, and do let them know that we sent you and let them know that you heard about them here. When I asked Tom Freeman, one half of the married couple that owns Red Hive Market, to describe where we were, his mind immediately went to the history and the legacy of the space.
Well, this building is in historic downtown Batavia. It was a great location when we discovered it in 2019. It's a late 1800s building, and it was built by two brothers from town, the Van Noordwijk brothers. There's a street west of here that's named after them.
Yeah.
It's an old limestone building, which so many of them are down here in the historic area in the TIF district. We've been very fortunate, very blessed to be in an area that the locals support small business, and we reciprocate by doing our best to support the residents of Batavia and the downtown area.
There's a lot of things to talk about in Red Hive. Vintage home accents, DIY supplies, candy, jewelry, and a bunch of other stuff.
Tom, by virtue of the fact that has been in the fire service for so much of his life, it's about describing the structure, describing
and the history,
and the square footage.
But when I asked Bridget Johnson, Tom's spouse and fellow owner, the same question, she also bypassed discussing the various products that they have on offer there, but this time in a totally different way.
I describe Red Hive Market as being a home to artisans, a home to people who have a passion for curating beautiful and unique items for the home, your art. I describe it as a feeling of passion that people who come to Red Hive Market to be artisans feel. And I describe it as a sense of commitment from our guests, our customers that come to Red Hive Market. So I describe the feeling that Red Hive Market invokes in all of us.
So Tom thinks of Red Hive as part of a bigger legacy, and Bridget thinks of it as a home for a range of different kinds of artisans and customers. But if you combine those things, history and home, you get a community. When I talked to Bridget and Tom, it became clear to me, at least, that the real motivation behind Red Hive Market was to create a place where artisans and customers can both shape and be shaped by a community. So in this episode, we explore their passion to create a home for artisans, what it means to them, how they did it, and where that desire came from in the first place.
I don't think anyone can put their finger on one thing that that we have here. Of course, we have home decor. Of course, we have furniture. Of course, we have, a fiber artist. We also have a talented woodworker, wood aubles, and he's a retired battalion chief.
Yeah.
And we have just a myriad of things. We have an area for makers and DIYers who come in, get inspired by a piece of furniture they see or a piece of artwork. And I say to them, you can do this. You can do this yourself. You can take what you have at home already and give it new life.
These are customers you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can do that. Here's the products that we offer you.
Yeah.
And they're not products that we carry because they're sponsoring us. They're products that we carry because I use them.
Yeah.
So I can really speak to those products.
Yeah.
And with every unique component of Red Hive Market, every unique artisan, comes all of these beautiful different personalities, different backgrounds. So that's really, I think, reflective of me and Tom.
Yeah.
Me having been born in Cuba, coming to the United States when I was 5 years old. Tom, this guy from the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
He proudly will tell you he's 99.9% Irish because he took one of those,
Very Irish.
Yes, very Irish. He took one of those DNA tests. So, and I'm very Cuban. I'm very Cuban, who really was raised in the United States. So I am very Americanized as well.
Were you born here?
No, I was born in Cuba.
So you moved here when you were how old?
5 years old. I'm 61 now. So
do you remember that experience?
I do remember that experience. I remember being on the airplane with my mother and my brother and me asking my mom to speak in English. And my mother came up with some gibberish, and my brother and I were in awe of her ability to already speak a different language. Well, she didn't, she just made it up. And I remember, and now I'm going to get really emotional, I remember the challenges of coming to the country, to this country, not knowing the language. Oh my gosh, there's winters. What is this white stuff coming down?
Did you move to this area?
We moved. Our flight landed in Florida.
Okay.
And of course, like every good Cuban, we have relatives in Miami.
Sure.
Or Miami. And we were there for a time. I don't know how long. And then we came to Aurora because we had relatives in Aurora. And we lived with them for a while until my mom and dad saved up lots, all the money they could to buy their own house.
So pretty soon you were in the Midwest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember an agency, how they got our name, I don't know, who brought us coats because it was going to be cold and gloves and things like that.
Yeah.
Because we had no idea really what to expect.
And then we were fortunate about 6 years ago to return to Cuba.
Okay. Yeah.
And connect the bookends of her 1963 to 68 time in that country.
Yeah.
And then 6 years ago and see her homeland again, where she grew up.
Yeah.
Where she had to leave before coming to the United States. And that was quite an adventure, not only for her having been raised there, but for me, never being there, a South Sider from Chicago going to Cuba was quite a trip, literally. It was nice to be able to go back and see what was still there, still with family in that country, and revisit some of the memories, albeit some very difficult, but still in all to be able to see where she spent 5 years of her life before coming here.
Right. My wife is part Korean, half Korean. And she's not from Korea. She was born here. Well, technically she was born on a base in Germany. But she is technically an American citizen and born in that way. But I remember that it took me a while to comprehend the difference of her experience. Did you have a similar thing, Tom? Like when you met her, did you know these things about her? Did you comprehend like how much her life differed from yours in that way?
It took a while.
Yeah.
Initially, my first encounter was with Bridget Johnson.
Okay.
Now, being a South Side Irish guy,
Yeah.
Bridget Johnson has connotations of red hair, freckles,
Right.
fair complected,
Yeah.
easily sunburned. No, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So it became a short trip realizing that Bridget Johnson at one time was Bridget Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And then the story began to unfold.
Yeah.
And I found it to be amazing
Yeah.
because we so often take for granted when we're here the plights, the travels of people. We're all immigrants.
Right.
But when it becomes that close, that first generation close,
Yeah.
it wakes you up to a lot of things, especially when it's a country like Cuba and the stories that are attached to that. It makes you aware and grateful for what you do have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why did you decide to go back to Cuba? Why was that so important to you?
You know what? It's interesting because I had vowed never, ever to go to Cuba while communism was still there.
Okay.
Because I vowed, and these were all feelings that I adopted from my parents, that they were very staunch advocates of you cannot fight communism by giving them American dollars. You can't do that. That's how I felt until we took a vacation to Florida one year. Do you remember this, Tom?
I do.
We went to Florida, and for my mom, we hit all, and for me too, we hit all these little Cuban restaurants. And I had no idea it was going to be so emotional for me to eat, empanadas, to eat ropa vieja, which translates to old clothes. And on the way back, I said to Tom, I think now I want to go back to Cuba. And he surprised me one day with this cruise, and it was just so emotional.
Yeah.
It was really special.
Did it feel like home?
Yes, because as corny as it may sound, I may have left Cuba, but Cuba has never left me.
And I don't think in some regards much changed. Yes, there's new buildings, there's construction and so forth that has happened over the last 5 decades. But still in all, I think when she saw some of the infrastructure that was still in place from back in the 60s, it reminds you of how progressive other countries are and can be. And it was definitely a step back in time for her and an awakening for me. Like I say, you really don't realize how good you have it until you don't have it anymore.
Right.
And I'm sure this is true of many, many other countries, but to me, what it said was just how resilient, Cubans are in Cuba, how much they can make of so little, with so little. And we went into little shops in Cuba, which were practically empty.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, very little inventory. We went into other shops that were very much like little shacks that the money those shops made could stay with them as opposed to giving a portion of it back to the government. So I found that to be a progressive thing with the government, that they were now allowing for some, entrepreneurship to take place.
Yeah.
And Richard, I'm convinced that, and while Bridget may not agree, I'm convinced that instilled a core value in her that in 2019 said, I'm going to return some of that to people in this community. I'm going to provide an outlet. I'm going to provide a structure to have people come in. We'll be the overarching welcoming center, if you will, and come on in and display your talents. And we'll help in whatever way we can, right down to this very room we're sitting in. Not only is it a do-it-yourself in a maker studio, but we also regularly have Girl Scout troops come in for programming where they're able to get their merit badges.
Yeah.
So it's a deep appreciation that she has for giving back to people that may not have been advantaged enough or disadvantaged to a point where they weren't able to do that.
How that trip influenced me is when COVID hit.
Okay.
When COVID hit and we were only 4 months old.
Yeah.
I turned to Tom and I said, me and my family did not come all the way to this country, leaving Cuba for us to fail because of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We will make it.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't have done it alone. We couldn't have done it had it not been for the community, for Batavia community, who said, it's not that I need one more pillow. It's that I need you to stay in business.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though that wasn't the statement that was made every time, though many did make that statement.
Yeah.
That really is what it would translate it to. This community won't let you down,
Right.
It really won't let you down.
And she did that on her own. During that time, I was still working. I was still on the job.
Yeah.
And in 2020, when COVID hit, we were at it 7 days a week in the fire service dealing with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bridget was here by herself 14, 15 hours a day.
Wow.
With our artisans, I mean,
With the artisans.
Yeah.
But dealing with setting things on the curb for people to pick up, making local deliveries in the Tri-City area, putting stuff in between our double doors so
With
people
our
could come and
artisans'
get
help.
it. Mm-hmm. With the artisans' help to survive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I am convinced that presence and that endeavor endeared us to people that said, wow, there was a real stretch performance. There was a real effort made. And we continued that to this day.
Yeah.
In July of 2022, when the opportunity came to literally double the footprint of the store, we said, we've gotten great support from the community, great support from our followers. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And here we are in July now of 2024, 2 years later, almost 5 in total. November of this year will be 5 years, and still going strong and still getting the support, which allows us to continue.
Yeah.
I truly believe it was solely because they wanted Red Hive Market to succeed. Because they were getting nothing back from me other than, and that's not nothing, but other than total gratitude. I never once saw these wonderful people buying products, buying items as charity or a handout. I saw them as genuinely wanting Red Hive Market to stay in their community.
Yes.
And not closing our doors. They were not going to let us be a statistic of COVID.
And not just because they were nice, but because they appreciate, you're contributing value just by being here.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Tom and I are it. You want us to sponsor something. Our heart is in Batavia.
Yeah.
We live in Batavia. My children went to 101. Yes, we're going to do that. We're going to sponsor. The other part of me is that mindset of having to be fiscally responsible. And I have this guy next to me, my husband, Tom, I will say, by the way, we sponsored this today. And he'll say to me, I thought we agreed that we're already maxed out. And I'm like, just this last one, Tom. Just this last
And how do you
one.
feel about that?
It's always just one more.
Yeah.
Just one more.
I mean, honestly, how does that hit you? Because that's the tension. That's the tension.
It's great. It really is, because That's why we're here.
You don't have to say that.
No,
People
I
would
know.
understand.
I don't know.
You know what's funny is that that's not what he says to me, Richard, at home. Okay, so I'm calling BS. Okay, I call BS. You say to me, okay, we can't do one more. Make sure this is it. This is the last one.
But the last one.
But every time we can't do one more and we do one more, we're able to do it. We do it.
You feel like it pays off?
Sure it does. Because, back to your question about what is the real reason behind doing things, people wouldn't continue to come in if we weren't filling some type of a need or a void.
Yeah.
There's products here that they see that they enjoy, that they want, that they need, or they just would like to have. And they see local artisans, their neighbors that are here that made things. They see owners that live in Batavia. They see we have teachers, we have retirees, we have other firefighters, we have people that have made these things in their basements, their spare bedrooms, their garages. I like to jokingly say we probably saved a lot of marriages when we brought those people in here and got all that stuff out of their homes. And as a result of that, we filled a void. People want to support us, but only to the end that we have a product that they can use as well. They're not just going to come in and slide money under the door. And when they saw what we have to offer and what people are here that really want to provide a nice product, a home decor product, that's what keeps bringing them back.
Right. It feels like 70% of the people I interview started out in Batavia, went somewhere, came back. You all are both from other places. So you're from Cuba, you're from South Side of Chicago. When did you both end up in Batavia?
We got here about 12 years ago.
Okay.
We met, both previously married, and we met through public safety. Bridget was with the police department, police agency, and I was with the fire department. And that's how we met each other and ended up over time relocating to Batavia. But it was an easy decision to call Batavia home for both of us, in spite or regardless of backgrounds and where we came from. You have a large city amenity in a small town, and everybody knows everybody. Everybody's willing to lend a hand. Everybody calls you by name. It's an extrapolation of Cheers, for crying out loud. You see the customers come in. We've come to know each other by first name. Other stores, other local businesses, everybody down to the mayor. When you see the mayor of a city that on the weekends is walking around picking up debris and pulling weeds, you say to yourself, this is a town I can live in. This is a place that you can call home and really come to love. And that's the truth. You have big city amenities by virtue of what you can get to and where you can go, but it's still got that quaint small town feel.
Welcome to Settling In with Christine Clements. On each installment of Settling In, we'll spend a couple of minutes diving deeper into what it means to make Batavia home with insights and advice from our title sponsor, local real estate expert Christine Clemens of App Properties Christie's International Real Estate. This week, we explore what people are looking for from a house when they move to Batavia and what it takes for a house to become a home. What is a home? What does that mean?
It's funny because if you ask somebody, where is home for you? They're not going to say 123 Main Street. They're going to say, home for me is Batavia, or home for me is Geneva, or wherever it is that they're from. And oftentimes it's maybe not even the place that they're living right now. I think it has a lot to do with where you feel connected to community.
Yeah. So for me, there was definitely a thing of we want to live in Batavia. That was one of the towns. But also, probably even more, we wanted certain things out of a house.
Yes.
So do you find that people equate, in that instance,
home with house?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And people will come to me often with a list of things that they're hoping to find in their house. And some of them are really abstract, like I'd like land, but I don't know exactly how I would use it, but it needs to be over an acre, or I really want to be in this historic area of, for example, downtown Batavia. I want to be able to walk to the farmer's market or different things like that. So there's absolutely requirements for what people would like out of their home.
Yeah.
But what's a really fun phenomena is people buy the house almost always in the foyer. So I don't know what your experience with buying a home was, but when I bought mine, I walked inside and within about 5 seconds, I knew that it was the house that I was going to buy.
That's interesting. And you look past a lot of stuff sometimes.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. And I can see it on my buyer's face. We'll be standing in the foyer and I turn to them and we haven't even gone upstairs or in the basement or anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I know they're going to tell me that they want to write an offer on the house. And we've not even been to the kitchen. I mean, it's just this very overwhelming phenomena. And I think people are looking for that. And of course, it always does come back to like what they need out of a home. But oftentimes it's a feeling that they get when they're in there. And that's kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah, there's like a baseline requirement, like we need a certain amount of bedrooms. But for us, the feel was a big thing. But even after we bought our house, I think there was a feeling of like we stumbled into a very good situation on accident based on the community, based on our place, like where we were actually situated within the community, you know, just like a couple doors down from our school. We can walk to the farmer's market. All of that stuff feels very fortunate to me. That's, I guess, why I'm saying home and house, like they weren't aligned at the time.
Yes.
But it's like a weird reality distortion field where when you're looking for a house, you're thinking in that direction.
Yeah, and I think that's why a house becomes a home. It's something that evolves over time. Maybe the first day you move in, it's not home yet, but it becomes that after a certain amount of time.
Christine Clemens is a real estate broker with At Properties Christie's International Real Estate, one of Chicagoland's most trusted brokers, helping you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. For more information and to see how much your home is worth, text HOME to 630-797-8421 or go to christineclemens.com or click the link in the show notes. This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by Bulldog Plumbing Incorporated, proudly serving Batavia and surrounding towns. Bulldog Plumbing isn't just a local family business, they're neighbors. You might have already seen their trucks all over town. They're a mainstay in Batavia, not just when it comes to serving their customers, but also through supporting the community itself. I'm not exactly a plumbing expert, so I had no idea what backflow testing was or why I needed it. So I looked into it, and it turns out it's kind of like putting up a do not enter sign so that nothing goes the wrong way and contaminates your water. Sounds pretty important to me. You can call Bulldog Plumbing if you need backflow testing or anything else like an energy-saving tankless water heater installed. If you have plumbing needs, visit bulldog-plumbing.com or call 630-313-9109.
When was the first time you felt like you belonged in Batavia?
I have felt that I belonged in Batavia since my son entered kindergarten at Louise White School.
That's what did it.
That's what did it. The community of Louise White School, and I'm sure all the other individual elementary school communities can say the same thing.
Yeah.
My experience is only Louise White, is truly community. It is a diverse community. It is tightly knit, and I love that. I love the diversity. I went to school in Aurora on the east side we lived in, and that's very diverse. I can remember the first time that one of my uncles pulled up his rickety old truck onto our lawn, our front lawn. And now as a 61-year-old, I am sure that those older non-Latino neighbors were like, who has moved in? It's like, hey, we're here. So it's it's very diverse, and I love that about Louise White.
Yeah. Is that when you felt that way?
Well, absolutely. No, there's nothing that can take away the mentality and the mindset of the South Side of Chicago. Living in a 1,100 square foot brick bungalow where your neighbors are within arm's reach, literally from one side to the other, and you're passing beer cans across the fence on a regular basis. But you do have that same feel, which is great.
Yeah.
You have that sense of neighborhood and of neighbors and inclusivity that Bridget speaks to with the diversity. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important. And whether it's the South Side of Chicago or Batavia, that's a critical component. And if you don't have that, if you don't have that sense of neighborhood, then there's something missing, and you probably won't last too long.
Do you feel like Batavia is pretty good at including sort of a diverse and inclusion and including a diverse amount of people? I struggle with this personally because it is mostly white. It's a mostly white area. And that is what it is. But like, do you feel like it is welcoming and inclusive enough? Could it do better?
Every town can do better.
Sure. Yeah.
Every town can do better. And Batavia can do better. Batavia, I believe, wants to do better. I think that the people that reside in Batavia, those that I have encountered, have encountered, are people that want to do better, have a good heart. And that really has to count for a lot, having a good heart.
Yeah.
They're not malicious.
Okay.
They need perhaps more education.
Sure.
They need to perhaps encounter more people like me that might present white, but are not,
Sure.
and that are open to my story.
How does Batavia help people encounter people like that and hear their stories?
Yet I think it has to really start with that person who is not like them, like me.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of being Cuban.
Yeah.
I'm very proud. I enjoy taking people off guard. I
know what you
do.
mean. Yeah.
I love to do that. I love for them to think they know who I am and then find out, holy cow, who is this person?
I didn't have exactly that reaction, but I did think I knew who you are before we started this interview. I did not know you came from Cuba.
Yeah, I love to show people, really, you can't look at someone and think you know who they are.
Yeah.
And it should start. It's a mutual thing. I'll put myself as the example. I need to feel the courage to be able to tell someone who appears, I'm going to use the word Caucasian, and I'm 61, so I'm using probably some old terms, that I'm Cuban. I wasn't born here. I'm Latina. I'm Hispanic. And my experiences are not your experiences. So I have to feel courageous enough, safe enough to say that. That's really the word, safe.
Safe, yeah.
That person is going to respond kindly, tolerantly.
Yeah.
And that creates a dialogue and an opportunity for growth for both of us.
I love that. I think about this a lot. This idea of safety feels, you talked about a home for artisans.
Yes.
And home has already come up a number of times in
Yes.
this conversation.
Yes.
And you can't have a home without safety.
You can't.
And so having,
Yes.
a community that is conscious of that there's people around that they may not even see on a day-to-day basis that are different than them, I think is really important.
And I think that what Red Hive Market is a collection of who I am predominantly. Tom really gives me the freedom to just, and who I am is I am the sister of an amazing man who was part of the LGBTQ community. So how could I not, if I love him, how could I not love that wonderful community? So
the issue of safety that you address is one that's both real and perceived.
Yes.
And every day, by virtue, good or bad, of the internet and social media, we see places that have had ample opportunity to make a difference, and for whatever reason, maybe choose not to. Here in Batavia, you ask, could we be doing better? The transparency is obvious in the city of Batavia, that they will talk the talk and then walk the walk.
Yeah. When you started Red Hive, so the concept is we're going to open the store and a lot of people are going to be part of this.
Yes.
How did you know that there were going to be a bunch of people that would be part of this?
We didn't. There's no way to really be sure that. I just hoped and was confident in our mission, and I have to give this man credit, and I just believe in God, and he has never let me down, Richard. He has never let me down. I can't tell you this Bible verse versus that Bible verse, but I can just tell you that I put my confidence in him.
Yeah.
And when something is that I perceive it to be a little askew, when my level of anxiety starts to rise a little bit, I just truly, something reminds me of just leave it to God. And I do. I believed he would just make it happen.
So is there failure? Is failure a category when you're? And I'm coming from this from a similar perspective.
Sure.
I also believe in God. I attend church every week.
Yes.
For you, is there a category of like, but I might fail, and that might be what he wants?
I believe that what I think I want may not be what he knows is best for me.
Right.
And I may translate that as failure, but it isn't.
Yeah.
It's just that he knew better for me, but I had my expectation to be X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And
when it doesn't come to be that, I humanly say, oh, I failed.
Oh, man.
When it's really not that. It's really that my plan wasn't his plan.
But in that moment, you felt pretty synced up. You felt like that might have been his plan.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to be successful every single time.
Yeah.
And failure is part of it, but it's not how many times you fail. It's how many times you get back up on your feet.
Yeah.
And good judgment comes from bad experience.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how you learn. Yeah. And that is part of the grand plan. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Everybody does.
I hate that word, fail.
Well,
I know.
I don't like that word,
I
fail.
introduced that word for two reasons. One, it's just my personality.
Yeah,
that is definitely the way I think. But also, it's just it gets to the emotional heart of the matter.
And absolutely
it
does. And I just think that I just wish that we turn that around, you know. And they're just experiences.
Yeah.
It was just an experience that didn't meet the mark that you had set for yourself, you know?
Right.
And I'm not trying to like look at the glasses half full or half empty. You know, if anything, because of my upbringing, I'm ready. I'm looking for that failure, you know, I'm looking for that I didn't make it, you know, because you expect there to be some roadblocks in life.
You said, I didn't come to this country to fail. And you were applying it to Red Hive.
Yeah.
So in your mind, at that moment, at least, there was no option.
Yes.
You were not open to that.
You caught me, Richard. Yeah. You're right. It's true. It's
absolutely.
Right.
And we have a lot of faith in our people.
Yeah.
We were sure that there was a lot of people out there like Bridget that did home decor, did artisanal work, and that this would be their home. Mm-hmm. We were very confident in that, and that's come to pass. Similarly, there's a lot of folks out there that aren't sure, and they'll come in, and it might not be all that they thought it would be, and they're not successful.
These are potential artisans or artisans. Yeah.
Sure. They don't have to live up to our standard. The only people that need to live up to our standard is us.
Yeah.
You know, we don't expect people to come in and say, here's the bar you have to meet, and it's our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The only person I have to satisfy is me.
Yes.
But they come in and we try to help them. We try to provide that opportunity and that environment for them to be successful. But they have to do it.
Yeah.
And are they not always successful? Do they fail? Sometimes that does indeed happen. Mm-hmm. And we try. But Bridget was confident that when we opened in 2019, that we would have enough vendor opportunity to fill 12 positions. Yeah. We did, and a waiting list. And it's been that ever since.
So you gotta find the vendors. That seemed like it went well, and then you have to find customers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of, it's like a double risk.
It is.
There.
Sure.
But everything, there's risks all over us, all around us. Yeah. There are risks all around us. There are
Very
risks.
True.
And I don't believe anybody is crazier with respects to demands they put on themselves and me. I am very, very hard on myself. I really, and I don't expect anyone to keep the schedules. I do. I don't expect, I'm constantly thinking about that word pivot that we use so much thanks to COVID. I'm like planning ahead. I have a plan Z. I just haven't reached plan Z yet. Yeah. And then I'll start over again with the alphabet when plan Z goes by the way, you know.
What has owning a business in Batavia taught you about yourself?
I think it's taught me that I am so much like my mom. I am really, really resilient. I'm really, really resilient. Mm-hmm. And I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was.
Yeah. What about you? Is there something specific about Batavia that's taught you something about yourself?
Well, there is a connection to what I did for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. I was in a people business. Yeah. A little different. It's a worst day of your life business, but still in all, it's a people business. And we had a saying in the fire service, leave the place a little better for the next person. And that is every day we try to build on what we've done here and make it better for the next person, make it better for the shopper, make it better for the resident that comes in here looking for something.
Yeah.
And even if they don't find anything, make the experience good.
Yeah.
This is all about people. Everything we do, this isn't about selling things.
Yeah.
This is about dealing with people. I dealt for over 4 decades with people, sometimes in the worst possible time. If you can help them out and you can have a good time with it, we enjoy everybody that comes in. We enjoy our artisans. We have a great time. It's extended family. I spent over 40 years with extended family. I spent 1/3 of my life with an extended family. Make it a little bit better for the next person. Mm-hmm. Leave this spot, 6 West Wilson, leave it a little bit better for the next person that comes in here.
What is it about Red Hive that could only work in Batavia?
I think the sense of community. And I say that because really my experience is primarily Batavia. That where else could you leave things on a bench in front of your store for a customer to look at to make sure it's the right tint of red, for paint. I think that Batavians 60510 zip code is very, very important to us Batavians. We had an artist in here that said, what is it about the zip code that's so special? She did. She's no longer with us. I mean, she's still alive, but she's no longer at Red Hive Market. But that was like a pondering question to her. What is so special? Why do you people want so much that has that number on it?
Yeah.
I mean, we want it on our pillows. We want it on our coasters. Mm-hmm. We want signs that say it. We want windmills. And I think it's because of we are proud of Batavia. We're proud of Batavia. Mm-hmm. So, and you could, Richard, you just walk around and you're going to see pillows that have 60510 on it. Yeah. You're going to see canvases with the bulldog, with the windmill.
Yeah.
So we're very, very proud of our community.
This city has done a great job in preserving the heritage and the tradition and the memories and carrying that forward.
Yep.
And I have to agree. I think it's the sense of community. And I don't think it's ever been more evident than the last couple of years, the effort that went into that flag monument across the street.
Yes.
From the 100-degree evening that they broke ground and we stood there sweating like crazy to the opening, to Flag Day this year, to every ceremony, to walking by it with our dog late at night with the lights on, to seeing the flag flying all the time.
Yeah.
The sense of community that this town has and continues with great pride, I think that's very unique. Oh, there's other towns that have it, no question.
Yeah.
But we see it so often, and to be a small part with Red Hive Market, to be a cog on that wheel of tradition, on that wheel of pride, just to be a spoke that moves that forward.
Yeah.
For however many years we're going to be here. I mean, we don't know. The big boxes are going to outlive us, but for the time that we're here, Richard, we just want to make a little bit of a difference and be part of that wheel that turns forward.
Man, I almost want to ask, you think the big boxes will outlive you?
Sure.
I don't. Oh, boy, do I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Nice
way to end the podcast, Richard.
We're not ending here.
No, they're not. They're not going to.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. This country was founded on small businesses, the mom and pop shops. And you know what? I'll be damned. Hell no. We're not.
You'll be that to go
we
for you.
will not. So, Tom,
It's gonna be a long car ride home.
I'm calling you out on that. You know, you're wrong. No, they're not going to, because we are making a comeback. Small businesses are making a comeback because people are realizing maybe it's an unconscious campaign that's taking place about shop small and local, and the benefits that we small businesses bring to our community, the taxes that we provide, you know, that we bring to the community where we're at, the benefits to the school districts, to this teacher event, that pancake breakfast.
Right.
People are becoming smarter about the benefits of small businesses. On Fridays, when Tom and I are off, we go to small businesses and we dine in small businesses. We shop, we make purchases because that's us, you know.
Yeah.
That is who we are. Again, I want to reiterate that Batavia can do better. We're not a utopian community.
Right.
We're not this, you know, I don't want anyone listening to this and saying, oh my God, you know, like she thinks Batavia's perfect. It is not.
Yeah.
There is so much room for improvement and we can do better. I just believe we have a collection of people that do want to do better.
Yeah. You know, it's clicking together for me now because we've talked about home. You've talked about leaving the place better than you found it. The ideas of tradition often bump up against ideas of progress, inclusion, things like that, right?
Yeah.
But for me, there is something interesting happening in Batavia where there's an embrace of original structures, tradition, what is in place. But there's almost like, it feels to me like a conscious effort to hand that over.
Yes.
Not just like to the newer generation or something, but to hand that over to people who are here and call Batavia home, but maybe haven't been here forever, or maybe just want to step into something new.
Yes.
That feels like a real thing that's happening.
You're right. It is a real thing. And people in Batavia, we're adventurous. We're willing to try something new.
Yeah.
Like, who'd ever think that an Argentinian restaurant in Batavia would be a thing? And there's Bocaditos, our dear friends Sylvia and Juliana. In little white Batavia, you know, there's this Argentinian restaurant.
Yeah.
There's this woman who co-owns Red Hive Market, and she's from Cuba. Who would think that would be a thing? But it is happening. It is happening, but we can do better. And we can show those people that have an interesting story that they should come to Batavia. You know, we can do better in conveying that message.
Right. I think sometimes the more we love a town, the less we want it to change. But I also think that welcoming new people and actively including them inevitably will lead to change. I think a lot about this one quote from Jane Silber. She said, "The difference between diversity and inclusion is being invited into a house and being able to rearrange the furniture." In creating a community of artisans and customers at Red Hive Market, Bridget and Tom are giving us a glimpse of what it can be like if we're constantly welcoming in new people and letting them move the furniture. After all, that's the difference between being a guest and being home. Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, you should absolutely subscribe to the newsletter. Not only will we let you know when a new episode is out, but you'll also receive a weekly list of 5 concrete ways to belong in Batavia. Just click the link in the show notes. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow our community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Area Code Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark. Edited and mixed by Matt Linder.